G'day everyone, Andy1M here and welcome to my channel. I want to talk a little bit about favouritism and inequality in society because I believe that in the social structures that we have today, inequality is inherent in the things that we do every day, our lifestyle, society and our everyday choices. Let's consider, for example, family. We are born, most of us, into a nuclear family with certain parents and brothers and sisters. We learn to know them and become friends with them much more readily, most likely, than with other people outside the family, and that creates favoritism in itself. I came from a family which was pretty impartial to these sorts of things, and my parents didn't treat me particularly with any favors, but at the same time, many families are like that. I think especially in the sort of English culture, most families are pretty close knit, and brothers and sisters are much closer to each other than they are to people outside the family. Then you've got things like going to school. When you're a kid, you are taught to make friends with whoever's around you, almost at a random sort of thing. It's almost like it's allowed to go by chance, and we make friends with people who we get along most well with. And most of the time we have to exclude those who are otherwise not compatible with us. That creates inequality in itself, and there are a lot of people who get left behind, who don't have any friends, who don't have any close contacts, and it's really, really hard to get along with them. I was at drama school for like half a year, and I experienced a lot of that going on there. I was the outcast, I was the outsider of the entire group, had very few friends and had to get along with myself most of the time, which I suppose wasn't too bad because most people treated me okay. But at the same time, it's not ideal because in order to get to know someone, it's really hard sometimes to overcome the obstacles, the inhibitions that each of us privately has in our own lives, whether it be having to deal with trauma, having to deal with past experiences, bad experiences from the past, the police, authorities coming after us, and all sorts of other things which have happened to us which are making us anxious or depressed or otherwise hard to get along with. So dealing with the past is one of the things that we have to do when we are considering making friends with anybody into the future. The thing that irks me about nature really is the idea of romantic relationships. So you have two people who love each other and fall in love with each other, and they kind of bond and they have these exclusive connections with each other, which I suppose is good in a way, and it's a natural thing to happen. But at the same time, it excludes everybody else, and it causes favoritism between these two people, and they experience privileges between themselves which other people don't share. So it's unfortunate that this has to happen. Whereas if we were to have a society which is much more open-minded, which is somewhat polyamorous and polygamous, these sorts of things wouldn't happen quite so much. And we would have an open society, open-minded society where everyone treated each other with the same amount of respect without favoritism. You see that colleagues come after romantic relationships, you see that family comes somewhere in between those, you see that friendships come a bit higher than that, you see that our more distant acquaintances and more greater enemies in the greater world come even further below that. So dealing with the inequalities is something that we have to address. We can't, it's very difficult to get by in a society where everyone is unequal and there are too many people who are not connected to you. I think social media is a great tool for coming to make connections with people. So social media encourages us to get along with as many people as possible and to find people that we are most compatible with, but at the same time it encourages us also to be open-minded to those people who are different from us and to learn their opinions and be open-minded to their opinions and their way of thinking as well. So I think that learning and being educated is very important in a world where we are all dependent upon each other. Now, the counter argument to my whole argument in this video is that, sure, there are going to be inequalities in whatever we do, but at the same time, we are always going to have preferences for certain people, and the diversity among those of us in society is a strength as well as a weakness. So by being allowed to choose who we interact with, we are making good choices that are symbiotic and allow us to progress in our own lives and feel happy in our own lives. This is sometimes only sort of half the battle, half the argument, because in an ideal world we would all be able to get along with each other, I guess. There would be diversity, but at the same time we would appreciate that diversity in full and not kind of limit ourselves to just our inner circle. So I hope this has encouraged you to think more about the inequalities that exist in society at all the levels that I mentioned. That goes from the romantic to the family to the colleague and friends to broader acquaintances to enemies and strangers and enemies and that sort of thing. So that entire stratification is the reason for inequality in society, and I hope this allows you to think more about whether that's really necessary or not in our society. Hope you've learned something and have a good day. Bye for now.